Experience Fenton. Experience the beauty of its colors and designs. Experience American art glass, treasured from generation to generation. Experience the art and magic of handmade glass. Using the tools and techniques of the 1800s, the Fenton Art Glass Company continues to grow and thrive. It does so in an age when every industry in America has undergone a transition to increased automation, overseas production, and the ever-present control of computer science. To experience Fenton Art Glass is to experience the history of the American glass industry.
It's not just our history, it's really a history of American glass, because we've bought molds from a number of different companies. We develop colors that are inspired by a number of different American companies that have developed those special colors over the years. And so I think that's really the niche that we have, is a representative of a history of a country's tradition of glassmaking.
The story of Fenton is the story of a passion for glass artistry and the growth of a unique family business. A classic American success story, beginning with a dream, achieved with family, hard work, and dedication.
There's a real passion here in the family to not let this not work, because it's our name and it's our heritage.
Frank L. Fenton was the inspiring force in founding the business. After graduating from high school in 1897, he began working in what was then a large, thriving American glass industry. Frank worked for a number of glass companies that produced some of the finest handmade glass in America, glassware that is today highly prized by collectors. An enterprising and ambitious young man, Frank became a foreman before he was 20. But his true passion was glass artistry. He dreamed of the day when popular art glass would reflect his style and designs. Frank decided that the only way to realize his dream was to go into business for himself. He once said, "I got the idea that if I could do this work for someone else, I could do it for myself." It was a discussion he had had many times with his brother John, who was also a glass decorator.
I remember him telling me that when he was thinking about starting his own business, his brother John, who was older, said, "I'll help you get started whenever you want to do that." So Frank went to John and said, "I'm ready to get in my own business." And John said, "How much money have you got?" Dad said, "I got $280. John said, "Good. Between the two of us, we got $284.86. And so that's the way they started.
And so in May 1905, Frank and John started the Fenton Art Glass Company in Martins Ferry, Ohio. It began as a glass decorating company with 4 employees. They bought glass blanks from local glass companies and decorated them for resale. They were so successful that their suppliers became reluctant to sell them blanks. The only solution was for them to make the glass themselves. After raising the necessary finances, they began building their own glass factory in Williamstown, West Virginia in 1906. In January 1907, they produced their first piece of glassware, a design called Water Lily and Cattails. Their location on the Ohio River provided a convenient way to get the product to market. They packed the glass in barrels and shipped it by riverboat. Shortly after Fenton moved to Williamstown, Frank and John were joined by 3 more Fenton brothers, Charles, James, and Robert. At about the same time, the American Flint Glass Workers Union chartered a local chapter for the skilled glass workers, a chapter that continues to this day. The skill of its workers has always been vital to the quality and success of Fenton.
We just received a national award from the union for our labor relations. You have ups and downs. You have times in which there are disagreements. But one of the things I think we've been able to do is to keep those lines of communication open. I think they've done a good job of understanding the difficulties and the challenges that a handmade glass factory has here in the United States.
The skills of the glassmaker's trade are passed on from worker to worker. It takes many years to fully learn the intricacies of this art. Like most trades, glassmaking has a language of its own. The work area is called hot metal and is organized into teams called shops. Each member of the team carries out a different step of the operation. Although it may look chaotic, the glassmaker's movements are carefully choreographed and timed, creating a smooth, even flow from step to step. A complex item such as this classic cranberry opalescent basket will have more than 24 workers, each in turn shaping and finishing the piece. The process begins with ruby rolls, pure cranberry glass heated in a special oven to develop their rich red color. Workers remove the rolls one at a time, heat them until they're soft and pliable, and carry them to a worker known as the caser. The caser cuts off a ruby bud, which is attached to a blowpipe, quickly reheated and passed back to the caser. After shaping it, he blows a small puff of air into it, enlarging it slightly. It then passes to a gatherer, who dips it into a furnace, gathering a layer of French opalescent glass over the ruby bud. A blocker shapes the glass further, passing it to a second blocker who enlarges it by blowing into it. He then inserts it into a spot mold, which imparts an intricate pattern onto its surface. Through a process of cooling and reheating, the pattern becomes opalescent. The surrounding glass remains clear, allowing the cranberry underneath to show through. Throughout the process, the glass must be shaped when it's just soft enough to be malleable. In a matter of seconds, it will begin to harden again. In the next step, a glassblower heats the piece in a special furnace called a glory hole before placing it in a mold and blowing it into its final shape. The piece is reheated yet again, going on to the finisher. The finisher quickly flares the top and crimps it. Next, it goes to the handler, who applies the molten handle. Each handler stamps the handle with his own distinctive mark. Finally, a carrying-in worker uses a fork to take the basket to the annealing leer. At every step of the process, each piece is carefully inspected for variations in color and shape. Once in the leer, it will be cooled to room temperature over a period of 3 hours. At the end of the leer, selectors carefully inspect each piece again. The pieces that don't meet the high Fenton quality standard are doomed to be colored, which is either melted for reuse or sent to marble manufacturers. Fenton has always been a family business. After Frank L. Fenton died unexpectedly in 1948, the leadership of the company passed to his 2 sons. Frank M. Fenton became company president, and Wilmer Bill Fenton vice president in charge of sales. Frank was the master glassmaker, and Bill the charming, personable salesman. Under their leadership, the company grew and thrived for nearly 4 decades. In the 80s, they passed the mantle on to the next generation. One of Frank M.'s sons, George, became company president, and another son, Tom, the vice president of manufacturing. Bill's son, Don, became vice president in charge of sales and marketing.
Frank L. And his brothers were gone, fairly quickly within the late 40s, and Frank and Bill took over really without the assistance and support that we have been blessed to have Frank and Bill still with us during this time. What I really think we sell is color. When you compare what we do with some of the competitors domestically, if they have 10 or 15 colors in their line, we have 30 to 35 colors in our line.
Glass is made from sand, soda ash, and lime. But colors and opalescent effects are created by the addition of carefully measured chemical ingredients. Each day, the glass mixture, or batch, is melted at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and the chemicals do their magic. Iron makes glass green. Sugar creates a golden hue. Bone ash produces opalescent glass, while Fenton cranberry blooms from particles of pure gold. Throughout glassmaking history, the chemistry of colored glass has been a secret process. There are few how-to-do-it books on glass colors, so developing Fenton colors has always been an art. Jacob Rosenthal was Fenton's first chemist, beginning a long tradition of developing innovative colors and effects. In 1907, Fenton introduced their version of the iridescent effect, which was originally developed by Tiffany glass. It's created by spraying still hot glass with metallic salts. Fenton combined this treatment with heavily patterned glass, creating what is now known as carnival glass by collectors. It was an instant success, and its popularity continues to this day. With the talents of Jacob Rosenthal, in the 1920s, Fenton glass became a kaleidoscope of color, using descriptive names like Chinese yellow, ebony, mandarin red, and Mongolian green. Fenton worked 30 years to develop Favrine, which was originally created by Tiffany and Frederick Carter. The fact that it was a secret formula, combined with its extreme sensitivity to changes in temperature in the glass-making process, made it extremely difficult to perfect. The silver in its composition, combined with iridescent spray, gives it variations in color and a beautiful luster. Created in Fenton limited editions, it's a popular color with collectors. Frank M. Fenton has always had a fascination with glass color chemistry. He worked with glass chemist Charlie Goh in the 1960s to recreate two of the heat-sensitive art glass colors of the late 19th century, Burmese and Rosalie. They are still an important part of the Fenton heritage. Like cranberry, they rely on pure gold for their color. Today, Wayne King carries on the tradition of innovation in color chemistry, with many newer Fenton colors like Empress Rose, Ice Blue Pearl, and Willow Green. Fenton's wide color range reflects many traditional favorites: cranberry, mulberry, and cobalt blue.
Design has been an area of discussion and tension throughout the organization, I think, as to one, that the things that we try to do make it much more difficult to manufacture the product that we do, because we're always trying to raise the level of difficulty.
In the early days, Frank L. Fenton designed most of the pieces or adapted classic designs for the Fenton line. His notebooks were filled with sketches and ideas for glass. Today, many examples of his work can be found in the Fenton Museum. With his father's passing in 1948, Frank M. became more involved in design. Realizing that the most popular designs were Victorian, he set about learning all he could about the style and began reproducing pieces from the 19th century in different colors. Tony Resina joined the company as a designer in 1967 and was responsible for many popular patterns such as Lily of the Valley, Valencia, and Water Lily. In 1994, Fenton's present designer, sculptor John Saffel, joined the company. He has introduced many popular new glass designs. New pieces are first drawn and then shaped in clay before going to the Fenton mold shop, where the mold is created from cast iron. Each mold is the result of careful planning and painstaking craftsmanship. After the preliminary machine work, a skilled mold maker carefully cuts the pattern in iron by hand, a meticulous process that can take 12 to 14 weeks. The Fenton Company has a collection of over 8,000 molds, many going back to the early days of the company. Others have been acquired from glass companies that have gone out of business. This allows Fenton to recreate classic patterns from American glass history. Generally, these classic molds are adapted through color, finishing, or hand decorating to create a new item. Since 1973, each mold has been marked with a special symbol to distinguish new production from older pieces. Today, most of Fenton's designs have their roots deep in the history of American glassmaking and represent the classic Fenton look. Since 1907, with the introduction of iridescent or carnival ware, innovation has always characterized Fenton and contributed to its success. During the Depression, the glass industry was at an all-time low. Production slowed to part-time, but Frank L. Fenton's design abilities and a bit of luck led to the production of hobnail perfume bottles for the Allen B. Risley Company.
From then on, it seemed as though everything we made, if we made a particular shape, we also made a hobnail shape in that same basic mold. And the hobnail was our bread and butter line from probably 1940, 39 or 40 up until the present day. It's been a very, very important thing in the development of our company.
Distinctive crested ware, glass ringed with a colored or crystal edge, is another Fenton hallmark. It's a technique that requires great skill on the part of the glass craftsman. Fenton also mastered the double crimp. The glassware is passed through two different sized crimping tools, creating a beautiful effect. At various times, Fenton has created offhand items, glassware that isn't formed in molds, but is entirely hand-shaped, using the skills of the glassmaker. The first time was in the 20s, when Frank L. Fenton contracted 4 skilled European glassworkers to spend a year working at Fenton. Again in the 70s, glass artist Robert Barber joined Fenton to create offhand art glass. He also trained other Fenton artisans in these techniques. Dave Fetty worked closely with Barber and today still makes some specialty offhand pieces for the line. Fenton's association with QVC in 1988 represented another type of innovation, this time an innovation in marketing. And Bill Fenton became a television personality, appearing frequently on QVC for many years.
We were not sure what effect that would have on our other retailers, but when they saw that people were coming in and saying, "Where is your Fenton?" because they had seen it on TV, that has had certainly an impact.
By creating a separate line for QVC, Fenton protected its valued family of dealers and at the same time greatly extended its customer base and market presence. Fenton has also been sold on the German and English versions of QVC and the shopping channel in Canada. It's another example of the flexibility that helped Fenton survive when so many other glass companies closed their doors.
The desire to be innovative and flexible and react with the times instead of just doing the same old thing.
Although Fenton began as a glass decorating company and enjoyed great success, the Depression forced the closure of the decorating department. It was to remain closed until 1968, when Louise Piper was brought in to help create a new decorating department. At the time, she was 58 and had already had a long career in glass decorating.
But she said there's one condition. She said, I'm already at retirement age, and I don't want the people here to know how old I am. So I had to agree not to tell anybody how old Louise Piper was. When she got to be 80 years old, she then began to be proud of her age.
Louise stayed with the company until 1989, creating many new designs, one of the most popular of which was Violets in the Snow. She also trained a generation of glass artists. Many are still employed in the decorating department. Fenton is now the leading company in America carrying on the tradition of hand-decorated glassware. Nancy Fenton, wife of company president George Fenton, is director of design and heads new product development. She works with chemist Wayne King on new colors, sculptor John Saffel on new designs, and the decoration designers on the hand-decorated designs. Nancy coordinates and guides the collaborative efforts of this creative and talented group. The design committee, composed mainly of Fenton family members, reviews and gives final approval to each new design. The wide range of decorations features everything from flowers and foliage to the realistic and the fanciful. Once the design has been determined, artists hand paint that design on each piece. The finished glassware reflects each artist's unique style, as the hand, the eye, and the brush become one. When finished, the glassware is signed by the artist who painted it. All Fenton paints contain frit, glass ground to the consistency of a fine powder. Some pieces are given an additional treatment with the application of glass crystals called ice. This creates added texture. Many Fenton pieces are enhanced with 22-karat gold. This accent is applied by gilding specialists. All decorated pieces are permanently fired in a leer at a temperature of 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This permanently bonds the decorating treatments to the glass. Again, as in every step of the process, the glass is given one final inspection. Throughout the factory, the teamwork and dedication to quality and artistry are evident. That dedication is also evident in Fenton's leadership team, which includes 12 family members.
One of the things that we've been able to be successful with is to allow those different ideas and inputs to come together and make something that's overall better.
Working together with a vision for the 21st century, Fenton has recently expanded their workspace and furnace capacity.
When you're in a family business, I think you talk about generations rather than the next quarter.
Every employee is a valued part of the extended Fenton family. Together, they continue to produce some of the world's most beautiful and treasured art glass, including delightful baskets, exquisite lamps, figurines, and prized limited editions. These are available throughout the country from Fenton dealers. Fenton is proud of its heritage and history. The Fenton Factory Tour in Williamstown has been ranked one of the top 10 tours in America in USA Today. The Fenton Museum houses a large collection of glassware from throughout Fenton's history, as well as representative glassware from historic Ohio Valley glass firms. Sharing the love of glass and American glass history, the factory tour and museum are free to all Fenton visitors. For more information, visit our website at www.fentonartglass.com.